Live for the millions and millions of fans of Smash Mouth Sports. I am your host, Preston Bailey. With me, as always, Cam Vieira, who has been extra salty today. Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
I'm glad you're doing wonderful. We just got done wrapping up the show with Allison Kohler for the Steelers Wire, the Pittsburgh Steelers Wire. I love the Wire guys. We got to get all the Wire guys going. But this show is about Sam Darnold. Now, I do not hate Sam Darnold. For some reason, many fans hate Sam Darnold. They hate him. They hate him. I'm here to tell you I also don't hate Baker Mayfield. I strongly dislike him. I don't hate him. Hate's a strong word. If Sam Darnold was drafted by Cleveland, as crazy as that sounds, he would be very comparable to Baker Mayfield, stat-wise. They'd be very comparable because that Cleveland team is stacked. This New York Jets team is a dumpster fire.
To the 10th power.
To the 10th power times 100, falling down the stairs. We did this a couple weeks ago, and I said, okay. In fact, I'm gonna see if I can bring it up here. But here is the trade. Everybody knows the details by now. You're trading a second, a fourth, and a sixth. And just for conversational speak,
next year.
Right. So the sixth round is this year.
And the second and fourth are next year.
Which is nothing. And a second and a fourth is next year, which honestly, that's almost nothing too. To basically trade, so forget the sixth rounder. Every team cuts their sixth rounder so let's just talk about the second and the fourth, because that's really where the value is. You're talking about a second and a fourth round pick for a guy that was drafted third overall 3 years ago who very well could be a franchise quarterback.
Correct.
It's a no-brainer. If he sucks,
you didn't give anything up.
And he's Teddy Bridgewater 2.0, who cares? Cut him. Get rid of him.
Correct.
If his ceiling is Marcus Mariota, who cares? Cut him. Get rid of him. Second and fourth. I'm telling you right now, and I'm going to bring up the guys in a minute. I am so gaslit by the Jets. The Jets have gaslit me.
A Bucs fan.
And I don't even care about the Jets.
You play them once every 4 years.
But what I can't do is I can't stand people shredding money. I can't stand it when I see people shredding money, shredding collateral right in front of me. That's what they're doing.
No, they are.
They're wasting it. They're wasting picks. Look, I like the Zach Wilson after the workout. I was like, okay, I see what the scouts are saying. I like him. I'm not, as they say, in love with them. I'm not saying, wow, this is the greatest. This guy's Trevor Lawrence, 6'6" and 220 and this and this and the other. Right?
Right.
You know what I heard this morning?
Let's hear it.
Trevor Lawrence has been the most talked about prospect of all time.
Since Andrew Luck.
No. People love to say since Andrew Luck. People love to say since Peyton Manning. People love to say since John Elway. And I'm telling you, no. This guy, Trevor Lawrence, has been the number one prospect for 3 years.
Since his freshman year, yep.
He has been set. They've been talking about John Elway and Peyton Manning since his freshman year. There's never been talk like this. There's never been a consensus number one pick 3 years in a row, and he has been that guy.
Correct.
If he was allowed to come in, he would have been the guy 3 years in a row.
Oh, 100%.
Joe Burrow, all the other guys,
Kyler
Murray, Baker Mayfield, whoever it is, all the guys, he would have been the guy. So, but here is my point with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is 6'6", very, very tall. He's normally walks around at 220. You know what his weight was today?
What?
213.
So he's lost 7 pounds.
He's lost 7 pounds of muscle, but he was already a lean guy because he has not been eating the protein, not been doing the shakes, not been doing the workouts, because he's been in the hospital. He's been recovering.
Right, correct.
That's a problem. That is also a risk.
I thought his weight would go up. Usually when you're not working out, you put weight on.
Usually, but he's tall. He's got a high metabolism. I get it. It makes sense. But to get back to – so what are your thoughts on that, Cam, while I bring this up?
Look, there's nothing Trevor Lawrence could do short of breaking the law, and I mean breaking the law, that would make the Jaguars not take him first overall.
Well, he's going first overall.
Correct. So, I mean, if they don't, the Jaguars fans will storm Everbank Stadium and destroy it.
Okay. Well, what my question was with Sam Darnold. We talked about Trevor Lawrence, but let's shift back to Sam Darnold. Carolina's in my division. Obviously, I don't want Carolina. I don't want Atlanta. I don't want the Saints. I'm so glad The Saints are downtrending heavily. The
So
Falcons are downtrending heavily. And the Panthers are downtrending. Look, if I'm a Panthers fan, am I like
you got better yesterday?
Am I doing backflips because I got Sam Darnold? No.
You're taking a shot.
Look, the optimism is not there as it is with Zach Wilson. See, this is the problem, and this is what I'm going to bring up here. The fantasy of the draft is exciting. I love the draft more than anything. Okay? In fact, for many years, since my team hasn't been in it until this year, for many years, I liked the draft more than the Super Bowl because my team wasn't in it.
It's a day of optimism.
It's a day of optimism. Oh, this guy. Oh, we followed this guy for 4 years and 3 years, and he's this and this and then the other.
It's like Inauguration Day. It's a day of optimism.
Like Nelson Aguilar. I love Nelson Aguilar. I covered him when I worked for the Tampa Tribune, which is now defunct, like many other newspapers. I covered him in high school. I was excited.
Now he's on my team.
He was a running back in high school, not a receiver. Why? Because many elite receivers don't have a quarterback in high school. Quarterback is such a hard position. So he transferred, obviously. So I'm happy that he's got his money for the Patriots. I'm happy to see him succeed and go up the depth chart. I'm very happy with that.
So with Sam Darnold, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
With Sam Darnold,
right?
If you're a Panthers fan, you got better today. You got better. He's better than Teddy Bridgewater.
You got better. But here's the thing. You got better, and I like the move. I like the idea, and I like the move because there's no risk.
Correct.
Whoever you're drafting in rounds 2 and 4 has no shot of becoming a franchise guy or a bubble Pro Bowl guy at all.
Once every 5 years, you run into a Dak Prescott or a Kirk Cousins, but that's few and far between.
No, not even once every 4 years. No, we've done this study. The last 20 years, so after Brady got drafted, the last 20 years, in rounds 4 or later, you just hit it. There's been 2 guys that were very good quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, who's very good, and Kirk Cousins, who's also very good.
And they're both in phenomenal situations.
And if you want to say Dak Prescott is elite or close to elite, that's fine. I'll buy that. I'll put him in that top 8 category. I'm fine with that. Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins is in the 10, 11, 12 range. But every year, 3 guys come out that are ready to go. Now, here's the ironic part. And I saw this meme the other day, and I saved it, and I love this meme. Okay? If the 2021 quarterback draft class ends up like the 2018 draft class, we're talking about 3 years. We're not talking about 10 years ago or 30 years ago. We're not talking about, 20 years ago the game was different, and 30 years ago the game was different, and 40 years ago they didn't even pass the ball. No.
Right. This is Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen, Allen. Right.
Oh, I'll tell you who it is. You're not telling me, I'm telling you. Now have a seat. Now listen to me. This is why it matters. The number 1 pick is Baker Mayfield. Number 2 pick is Sam Darnold, quarterback-wise we're talking. Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson. So, if we're doing it, if it's not identical, but in this case, we're doing it identical. So, Baker Mayfield is Trevor Lawrence if you're doing it identical. You follow me? I'm not saying they're comparable because they're not, but
I got you.
If Sam Darnold is the equivalent to Zach Wilson, that is what I'm talking about. So everybody's like, oh, Zach Wilson's so athletic. He's this and this. I would say he's big and strong, but he's not big and strong. Okay, he's 6'2.5". He's 210. Okay. First I said Zach Wilson is Mitchell Trubisky, a guy that shut up. He's Mitchell Trubisky, but he's also Derek Carr. They're both 6'3". They're both 210 pounds. They both have slender builds.
Correct.
Are you giving up all that collateral, that huge draft pick for Derek Carr?
No, absolutely not.
Because the question you have to ask yourself, who is the $40 million quarterback? Is Trevor Lawrence $40 million? He will be.
Yes.
Yeah, he will be. Is Zach Wilson $40 million?
No.
I don't think so. Mac Jones?
No.
I don't think so. The world doesn't think so, but there's one team that does.
The 49ers.
The 49ers seem to think so, which is concerning. And then, but here's ironic. Now, this is where the game we're playing here gets a little
interesting. Who's going to be the Josh Rosen of this draft?
No. Josh Allen is Mac Jones.
Correct.
According to this.
Correct.
You know who Justin Fields is in this scenario?
He's Josh
Rosen. Josh Rosen.
And then Trey Lance is Lamar Jackson.
And then Trey Lance is Lamar Jackson. Now, I think it's actually switched. I think Trey Lance is Josh Rosen, and I think Justin Fields is Lamar Jackson.
So you're down on Trey Lance.
I am. I've never been impressed with Trey Lance. Never.
You think he's very raw?
I think he's raw as can be. Look, he's played 17 games in his career at one. So strike one, he's played 17 games.
He played one game last year.
He played one AA. That's strike two. Strike three, he played one game in a horrible conference. And strike four, he only threw 23 attempts per game, which means they're not passing.
Correct. So you think
he's a game manager
minimum
at one AA. You could count on one finger the amount of elite one AA game managers in college.
Correct.
So that's what we're talking about.
So you think Trey Lance requires 2 years on the bench?
Trey Lance is 4 years away from being 4 years away. Trey Lance, there's nothing redeeming about Trey Lance.
So you think he's the Josh Rosen of this draft?
He's the Josh Rosen of this draft, yeah. And I think Justin Fields is the Lamar Jackson of this draft. There's a lot of scouts that are softening on Justin Fields. They're not as crazy about Justin Fields as they were. I say like this: he's bigger and stronger than Lamar Jackson.
I agree.
So
he's just as fast.
He's just as fast, just as athletic. You know,
he's a better passer.
He's a better passer, and he appears to have a higher football IQ and all the other things. So,
I know everyone says Wilson's past him. To me, he's still the second quarterback in this, and maybe Jones is past him now too. Whoever gets Justin Fields is going to be happy, because the big story out of this is now that Carolina's traded for a quarterback, they're out on the thing in terms of drafting one.
Well, yeah, Atlanta's out. They want to trade down. Cincinnati's out because of logistics. They just drafted their number one overall pick. Detroit's out, and they said Carolina is probably out.
The next team that might consider a quarterback is Denver, and I believe they're at either 7 or 8.
If I was Denver, I would absolutely draft Justin Fields.
Absolutely.
Because he's mobile, he's athletic, and if I was Denver, here's what I would do. I would change my mentality. I know the mentality for Denver. Denver's mentality is we want John Elway, we want Peyton Manning, we want Andrew Luck, we want a very traditional type of a quarterback. That's what they want.
Those days are gone, unless your name's Tom Brady.
Okay, I would abandon that strategy, and I would totally shift.
I mean, how many quarterbacks?
Let me say this. I would say we're going to be Baltimore. If I'm Denver, you've already got Von Miller, you've got Bradley Chubb, you've got a core group of guys, you got a couple good running backs.
Jerry Jeudy, right?
You got Jeudy. I would shift to being like Baltimore. What does being like Baltimore mean? Power running game, mobile quarterback, good tight ends, great defense. I would change. Let Philip
Lindsay go.
So what? And
I understand your running game thing. No, but I mean,
wait a minute. Let me stop you. So Philip Lindsay's gone, and Denver can never run the ball again. That's what you're saying?
No, they can.
So Philip Lindsay was the last chance that Denver could ever run the ball.
And Denver running backs are like Pittsburgh receivers. Denver seems to find running backs everywhere. It's like a philosophy of that organization.
Yeah. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because they have good offensive lines historically.
Correct.
I can find – give me 20 guys coming out of the draft that are 5'10", 200 pounds. I don't even care if they can read or write. Can they run straight?
Correct. My thing with the Broncos with this pick is how many quarterbacks have they gone through since Peyton Manning retired? I mean, the list. I mean, I can't even tell you them all. It's Osweiler.
Well, we don't need to go through the whole list. But the point that you're missing is you think that Denver shouldn't run the ball because they lost Philip Lindsay. That's a weird, terrible take.
I mean, I forgot. You're not a big Philip Lindsay. I like Philip Lindsay. I know you're not a big enamored with him.
He's fine. He's a guy. He's a body.
He's James Conner.
Yeah, he's James Conner. I mean, who cares? I mean, what I'm going to look up Philip Lindsay. I don't know. Okay, so you've got this weird hard-on for Philip Lindsay, which is bizarre. I mean, that's just – I don't get it with Philip Lindsay. Let me look at this stat. Okay, he's 5'8". Philip Lindsay is 5'8", 190 pounds.
So back to Sam Darnold.
No, we'll get to Sam Darnold in a minute. You've got me fired up with Denver because what I'm telling you, what Denver needs to do, who cares about Philip Lindsay? I could care less who the running back is. It doesn't matter. Draft a guy in the 3rd or 4th round, okay? Draft Justin Fields in the 1st round. draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round, load up the O-line, get a tight end in there, and play power football.
And go beat
continue to build up their defense, win 10 or 11 games with Justin Fields, make him a Lamar Jackson clone 2.0, and build up your team. It doesn't have to be that fit. Plus, they could be better than Baltimore because they've got Jerry Jeudy, because they've got some they got some playmakers. Yes, absolutely.
So, Sam Darnold, how do you as a Bucs fan feel about a team in your division trading for him?
Well, number one, I'm not done talking about Denver. So what I was saying about Denver is that team, they're good at picking running backs. They're good at picking. First of all, it doesn't even make any sense why you say they can't run the ball. So what's so great about Philip Lindsay besides the fact that he's 5'8", 190 pounds? You like the fact that he's a good story? I mean, what is it about Philip Lindsay?
Nothing.
I'll be just curious. If it was such a bizarre take that they got rid of Philip Lindsay and they're never going to run the ball. That doesn't even make any sense.
Philip Lindsay, he's a good player. But let's move. We're harped on this now. Let's move past this.
You're done. You're done with Philip Lindsay now.
Yes. Let's get back to the topic of this video, which is Sam Darnold.
Well, Philip Lindsay had 502 yards rushing last year in 11 games. In case you were wondering, so
that's anemic.
To answer your question about Sam Darnold, I'm fine with it. It doesn't. But this is my point about Sam Darnold. I'm happy for Carolina. They made a move. Do I want Carolina to do well? No. I'm not worried about Sam Darnold. I think it's a smart move from an organizational standpoint because I think he's way better than Teddy Bridgewater. He at least has upside. We've seen Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater has ran his gamut. He has ran his course.
He's a backup.
He is a backup. He is between 28 and 35. That is the box that he's in.
So where should Bridgewater go?
Where can he go? There's nowhere he can go. I mean,
well, there's 2 teams off the top of my head I think if he could possibly start on. Maybe three. New Orleans, but that's not going to happen. He would start there, but
no, he's not better than Taysom Hill.
Denver, who we've been talking about.
Well, they're going to draft Justin Fields. Okay, so so keep going.
And the Patriots.
No. You think he's better than Cam Newton?
I would absolutely. I would welcome him here in a second.
No. That's ridiculous.
I would welcome him here in a second.
That's foolish.
He's a better passer than Cam Newton.
He's small. He can't run. He's not that athletic.
He can throw the ball.
No, he can't. No, he can't. This is worse than your Philip Lindsay take. What are you talking about? you pick these guys that you love. You've always been in love with Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, he really won Rookie of the Year his rookie year. He was a good quarterback in Minnesota.
So we're going to these second-place trophies again. So he almost won let's see here. So he's a good thrower of the football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year he won 4 games.
Correct, on a bad team.
Yeah, the team was bad because of him. It wasn't the bad team. He was the reason.
He held them down.
He won 4 games. He threw for 3,700 yards, which is career best. He threw 15 touchdowns, which was also his career best. He had career numbers last year for him.
Correct.
What are we talking about? You may like the guy. I'm sure he's a swell guy. But he's a backup. Certain guys are backups. He's a backup. Everybody loves Teddy Bridgewater. Okay, you talk about his first season, Teddy Bridgewater, that you love so much.
Let's hear it.
His first season, he threw for less than 3,000 yards and 14 touchdowns.
Correct.
His second year, he threw a little over 3,000 yards, and you ready for this? 14 touchdowns. Last year, he threw barely over 3,000 yards, and you ready for this? 15 touchdowns. That's who he is.
Okay.
So to say that he's better than Cam Newton, you just hate Cam Newton. You fantasizing about this other guy. You're doing the same thing the Jets are doing.
All right. So last topic here. Do you believe Carolina is a good place for Sam Darnold to rehab his career?
Of course. I absolutely do think it's a good place for Sam Darnold to rehab his career because they do have, as we've talked about, they've got two solid receivers, DJ Moore and Samuel. Oh, no, they lost Samuel. Who are the receivers?
Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson. I'm sorry. They got Moore. They got Robbie Anderson. Who's the tight end for Carolina? His name slips me right now. What's his name?
It slips me too.
Fatty McGee. So they got, I'll tell you right now, let's go into this before we go to the last topic with Carolina. Not that I want Carolina to do good, but here's something crazy. They're picking 8, right?
Yes.
They need Kyle Pitts, the tight end.
I agree.
That is where he needs to go because with their receivers, with Sam Darnold, with Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Pitts. Now, I don't know why I'm rooting for this. Sometimes I root for teams. I get so excited. I get carried away.
Well, we're doing what you don't want this to happen. You're saying
I don't want this to happen, but I'm saying if
you were the Panthers GM.
If I was the Panthers GM, I would be pounding the table to get Kyle Pitts. I wouldn't trade up. I would sit still at 8, and if he falls to me at 8,
and I think he will.
I would take it. And he said he will or he won't.
I think he will because we all know top 3 is going to be quarterbacks. You got Atlanta at 4. Atlanta's the dumbest team in the league, so they're probably going to go either Devontae Freeman.
Devontae Freeman. What are we talking about here? Slow it down over there. You're all over the place. Take it down.
There's too many Devontaes. The Heisman Trophy winning receiver.
Right, Devontae Smith.
Yes. Cincinnati's at 5. They're going probably Penei Sewell. Miami's at 6. I can see them going.
They're going to take one of the receivers, either Smith or Chase, one of those guys. Right.
Then you got Detroit at 7.
Detroit's a wild card. They could take a kicker. They could take
I see them going Micah Parsons, actually.
They might.
So
they fired Matt Patricia, right? Who did Detroit sign?
Dan Campbell, the guy who's going to bite your kneecap.
That's right. Dan Campbell, who's going to make Detroit. He's going to bite your kneecaps off. We did a video. He's going to make Detroit great again. So, we're going to. But no, to answer your question, if they drafted Kyle Pitts with the receivers, with Christian McCaffrey, that could be potentially not great, but they could be solid.
Unless Cincinnati gets stupid, which it's Cincinnati, that could very well happen.
Right.
And drafts them. And I'm not telling you he'd be bad for Burrow. I'm just saying they need offensive line. They're going to make sure Burrow does. I think you summed it up. If you were Joe Burrow and Cincinnati didn't go offensive line, you'd sue them.
I would. I would sue them for malpractice. I'm not even joking. I'd call the best lawyer and I'd sue them for malpractice because they're killing this young man.
Yes, they are.
We talked about this last night, by the way. Before we wrap this up, we're going to get to the Paul Pierce video for last, but we still got a couple more minutes. We talked to our Arizona guy, and he told you how great and elite Carson Palmer was.
Correct.
That's who Joe Burrow is.
Correct. I agree.
Joe Burrow is Carson Palmer in every way. 6'5", 230, big and strong and sturdy and number 1 in Heisman and accolades and championships in college. Since every way he could be, he is steady, resolute, all the things you want, right?
Yep.
However, just like Carson Palmer got injured, his career was shortened. The same thing could very well happen to Joe Burrow because the Bengals are mismanaging him greatly.
Correct.
Like and subscribe to the channel. What else you got to say on this subject before we wrap this up?
I think we've touched on everything.
We've touched on almost everything. Here's what I want to do before we wrap this up. You ready?
Yep.
I want to go over the top 10 picks.
Let's do it.
Because the reason I want to go over the top 10 picks, because we briefly talked about it earlier. We'll kind of go back and forth. Let's just start it off. We'll do it proactively. So we know that Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2
Zach Wilson.
is going to be Zach Wilson to the Jets. Number 3 is, I still believe it's going to be Mac Jones. We're hearing a lot of crazy reports, but I think it is going to be him. Now let's go to number 4. Who do you think the Falcons are going to take? If they might trade down, but if they don't trade down, who are they going to take?
Devontae Smith.
Okay. You think they'll take Devontae Smith? They might take Devontae Smith.
Because they're a dumb team. They already have Julio and Ridley, but they'll get enamored with it. Absolutely, yeah.
They might. I don't. They could go defense, but they might. They might draft a corner.
They should go Patrick Surtain, but it won't be him.
I'm hearing Patrick Surtain Jr. I'm hearing that. I'm hearing a lot of juniors going there. Penei Sewell to 5. Jamar Chase to Miami at 6. You could be right with Micah Parsons at 7 to Detroit. Carolina, they're going to take Kyle Pitts. Denver is a wild card. Let's round out the top 10 with Denver and Dallas.
Denver, at that point, I'm going Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Either one of those two. If they took Trey Lance there, I wouldn't fault them either. I would take Fields, but if they took Lance, that's their prerogative.
And rounding out the top 10, could be Caleb Farley, could be Patrick Surtain with the Cowboys.
Dallas has to get some defense.
They got to get defense. Now, you know what they said today with Jerry Jones wants before we wrap this up?
Let me guess, another receiver.
A tight end. He wants to trade up to number 4 and take Kyle Pitts.
Of course,
Jerry Jones.
Because of course he does. That is so typical Jerry Jones. It's not even funny.
Because they said Jerry Jones just wants to make splash plays. He doesn't want to just sit there.
Well, he
doesn't want to just trade down. And you know what? If he trades up for Kyle Pitts, people are going to go buck wild crazy.
Oh, Skip Bayless is going to freaking walk into the studio the next day and just have a good time.
All right, this is a live show, Cam. Let's rein it in. Wherever you were going with that, let's rein this back in.
But just look at last year, for example. It was reported the Cowboys didn't even scout CeeDee Lamb. The scouts weren't even paying attention to him. They didn't even consider a wide receiver. But there he was, and Jerry just couldn't help himself, despite the fact his O-line is in tatters and his defense is horrendous. And he still took him.
That's who they may go with. They may go with Ross Blaylock, I believe is his name. They could go offensive tackle, who's phenomenal, by the way. So
they need him. They need to make sure Dak doesn't get killed.
Like and subscribe to the channel. See us on the Paul Pierce Show. Let's get it going.
Let's do it.